All right. So, kind of been reflecting on where I've gotten to at this point, and I'm actually feeling really, really good. Um, Last time on Monday, let me think of what we got to. In fact, let me go take a look at my little board. Probably some details in here, right? Right. Well, we got the pass-through camera working. I think that was last week. It's all a blur to me. Um, I did refactor it for an in-memory file object, so I got that working, and then was able to pass that through to OCR and OCR on static images coming off the headset. And actually, because of that switch to in-memory file object, the image actually got compressed, which made the OCR really fast. Well, relatively speaking. It took about 20 seconds. And I think the quality was quite poor. But at least that means that I've got knobs I can turn. So I'm feeling pretty good then that I can get OCR speed to where I want it to be. And I can get the quality to where so quality should be able to be solved for as well. So hopefully I've got knobs there I can turn. I do need to dive into that and get the OCR stuff working like really well. So I want it to be fast. So I guess I've got two goals here on the left here. One is at least start with accuracy above 90% and just keep it consistently above 90%, meaning 90% of the words on the page are accurate. That's probably too low, but you got to start somewhere. And then the same thing with processing under 10 seconds. If I can hit those two things, then I've got something I can work with, and I can go deeper and get that 90% to 95, figure it out. But I don't want to do that today. Today, let's see here. Yeah, so I'm pretty much ready for the core loop of things, and I did turn on the core loop, where every couple seconds it tries to OCR whatever's in front of you. The problem was testing that was a nightmare because I couldn't see where the book was in front of me. Part of that's because I don't have any hand tracking, so I can't see where the user's hands are. So I probably need to switch over to that. But also, in terms of solving these OCR issues, I would kind of ideally need to be able to see, hey, what happens if I OCR multiple times, right? Can I enrich the same page with better data? So all that's to say, I think what I have to do today is work on these tasks here, which is going to be, let's move the debug info. Right now it's kind of off to the side and I have to turn the headset to look at it. So I'm going to see if I can get this anchored into the user's view. Actually, let's do a display live feed and captured image at the same time. So right now it's I had one or the other, right? I could either display the live feed here, or I quickly switched it over to hey, let's not display the live feed, let's just throw whatever image we're currently OCRing there. Both have their uses, both have their values. So I kind of need to display both. So anchor that view to where you're standing so that it's always in view. Get the live feed and the captured image. I can make them super small, but it doesn't really matter. I don't need it to be that amazing. Although I guess in a VR world, I can make them as big as I want, right? Because that HUD can be super big. And then triggering the button without the headset on. Again, also I have this button over here and I'm having to reach out. Sometimes I'm smacking the mic. I hit the mic when I'm trying to hit the button. So I want to get away from that. So I'm thinking maybe also anchor that to the user's headset, but have it above their head. Again, this is debug only for my purposes. I'm going to be the only one who ever uses this. This won't be in the final experience. But this debugging, I'm not going to do it yet, but at some point I'll make it so I've got the live production version of the app where all these things are hidden, they're not displayed at all. And then being able to put the app in a debug mode for myself, right? So that I get this HUD, I can see what the camera's showing, I can see what image, I can see other metrics, display other metrics as well. And then this button for that debug mode, I'm going to put it above the headset and anchor it to the headset. All this is so that hopefully by the end of this morning, I won't have to have the headset on to test things. I can just set up the headset, set up a book in front of it, and then trigger the button over and over again and quickly, rapidly test through some things. Some of that also then means, can I download images off the headset? So take those pass-through images and write them raw to somewhere on the headset's file system and then download them. And can I do that easily? And then the other thing being the metrics, right? So can I take metrics about it, including, hey, here's the text that we got OCR'd, and HOCR, which I lovingly call Hawker, is sort of an XML, HTML type format for the OCR results. And it tells you confidence, things like confidence. So I can see in those results that a certain word, we had high confidence, the OCR engine had high confidence on. So hopefully then, if I can write those metrics out to a file and write out the images as well, have it so it's obvious, like where's the image, where's the file, or files, right? There might be other info I want to write. So let's assume that every time we OCR, I want to write a single image, I want to write the Hawker file results, and then there's probably another file that I want to write. So probably put these in some sort of folder structure if I can. And then ideally have a simple ADB command that I can use to pull all those off the headset. And if I can do all that, then that means I can rapidly experiment with performance improvements, quality improvements, other changes. I don't have to put the headset on and off. I should be able to more rapidly prototype. And then also, if I can get those images off, then I can experiment with Tesseract OCR outside of VR, right? So I can just use command line tools to rapidly experiment with the settings, right? So instead of trying to write that code in those settings, which right now means I have to go write C++ code, and then I've got to go rebuild my running scans and rebuild my DLL files and other such things. I don't want to have to keep doing that over and over again. So if I can work with these things outside of VR, that'll also make for more rapid prototyping. So that's all to say. Unfortunately, today is going to be test bench setup type work. So let's try and knock these out one by one. It'll feel a little bit like today is a little bit of a waste, but it should mean that I can move 4 times faster than I would be otherwise, which will pay for itself. In a month, I'll easily have made up the time. So I also don't want to overdo it, right? Because you can always overdo testing. But let's get debug info anchored to user view. So I think that's kind of like a HUD, right? So I already did a brief search on this. And the one response was request instead of being HUDs don't really work well in VR. Yeah, that's fine. This isn't for the users of the app. This is for me only. Primarily because they aren't really immersive. Older VR games try to do normal game HUDs, but in VR they were a pain for everyone. More preferred method is something real, i.e. Yeah. It's 5 years ago. Okay, I don't want that. Heads up display. Well, that's 2D. That's 4 years ago. Let's get the last year. Let's do that. So this is a 3D HUD, but I don't want a 3D HUD. Control floating UI windows in VR. Nobody answered. What is this? Advanced techniques. Gross. Nope, not doing it. HUD template. Yeah, I personally like to use Label 3D and Mesh Instance 3D with a text mesh. For simple elements, Label 3D and such childed to the XR camera 3D work well. That makes sense. So there's our XR camera. So if I add a Mesh Instance 3D to this, and for its mesh I do a plain mesh, and then let's transform it. Let's scale it down to my window here is kind of blown out. I think I was recording something. Oop. 0.5, and then this one's what, 0.1? Sure. Yep. And then let's rotate that 90. There we are. Let's drag it out a bit. Let's just make sure that works. And that may just work actually. So let me get the headset on and confirm it's there. If so, I could probably just then drag everything over, and then that'll be it. Hopefully this is like a quick solve and I can move on to the next task. All right, let's build for that. Meanwhile, I'll get Quest link up. I'll get casting going. And where are the controllers? Yeah, I also want to get hand tracking, partly because the long-term version of this app is not going to use controllers at all. But also it'll make it easier for me to test if I don't have it. Okay. And then what's Godot doing? Oh, it's thinking. Okay. Let it keep thinking. All right, so I'll drag that over to here, and then we'll get this up. The permissions. So that's a lifesaver. Yeah, I love these little commands. So hopefully using these commands over and over again, I can then set up other commands for getting files off, and again, just really streamline my testing setup. XR Simulator, I can't use, unfortunately, for any of this because it's not going to be able to use the pass-through cameras. So although I really love XR Simulator, it's kind of a waste of time unless I'm testing. Well, if I can get a bunch of test images and Hocker results and other metrics off of the device, I might be able to then... What happened there? Something maybe broke. I might be able to then set up test scenarios where I can run it on XR Simulator and just run and load in test data, right? So then if I know I've grabbed an image from Passthrough and I've got a whole bunch of images I've done that for, I could load them in as test data and then run it locally, run it in 2D mode, whatever. Like I don't need VR at that point. I can just test things. All right, permissions granted, and then let's see, hopefully this works. It's thinking, hey, look, there it is. It's very jittery, and that's something I noticed before with everything I've made in Godot. Although actually that's looking pretty smooth right now. Where's my hand? Here. Yeah, this is looking pretty... Well, no. See, now that looks kind of... I guess if I'm looking close at it, the further I get away, it gets like quite choppy and grainy. I forget what that's called. It's like tearing. Okay, but this is great. So this is what I can work with. Also, is there an ADB command to kill the app? ADB meta quest stop app. I'm trying to stop an application. I may actually have commands for these things. Let's do code dot. Where are my docs? So, okay, there's our process ID. So I could do kill app. So that would be probably this. And then what did the docs say? List all running processes, and then we just do ADB shell kill. ADB shell kill. Cool. And let me try this. Again, anything that's going to improve my testing. There we go. In fact, let me just launch it again real quick. Come on, where's my hand? There we go. And then if I run this, operation not permitted. All right. Let's go last year. Actually, hold on. Here we go. Using ADB with MetaQuest. Perfect. Here we go. Devices, connect, disconnect. That's stopping Wi-Fi. We can install. The listed devices could be two separate devices or one. For example, to issue a logcat command to the device connected. Okay. Android tools. Yeah, I know they've got some tools that I wouldn't mind using. But I don't want to go down this rabbit hole today. ADB. This was the thing I already found. Developer tools. Android tools. Yeah, I was already using logcat. ADB doesn't really have a help command, right? ADB help. No, it does. Okay, so listen on network, use blah blah blah. Port, devices, disconnect, pair, forward, file transfer, so push, pull. Yeah, I've already pushed files onto there before. I'll have to figure out how to write files from Godot and then hopefully do ADB pull is probably the one. Shell. Interactive shell if no command is given. Don't read from standard in, disable. Okay. So it's probably ADB shell. Install multipack and use. So I guess I could use uninstall, but you know what? It's probably fine to do uninstall, to be frank. Let's try that. Where is my notes? Here we are. Wait, what do we got? Sorry. Let me just finish skimming these real quick. There's USB, internal debugging. Kill the servers, reconnect. Root USB. So ADB uninstall. And I think it's probably just going to be this. So if I launch it again, okay, there it is. And then if I call that, it's kind of ugly, but it works. So let's go with it for the moment. I mean, I'm reinstalling every time anyway. Let's be fair, because of how I'm testing right now. So this actually saves a step. So we do remove/stop app. Yeah, kill wouldn't work, but I can do ADB uninstall. That'll work. All right, moving on. So that I'm gonna add that to my repertoire and start doing that every time, because I don't want it running all the time. There's a number of problems with that. Also, it's gonna like slowly run down the headset battery, and I don't want that to happen. Since I am streaming for multiple hours, I need the headset healthy for multiple hours. So great. All right. So now we're able to quickly start our app and stop our app. Let's go back to our permissions. There's our permission commands. All right, and then back over here in Godot. Great. So now I've got our camera display. Here, let's shrink those down. Let's delete this. And then I'm gonna have to make sure this is still working. So now the table, well, camera display. Let's just put it there. And then the table mesh. I'll leave it as a block for the moment. I do need something to hold on to the book. So this is the other thing, is if I can get hand tracking working, I would like to be able to just mount the book to your hand. Yeah, I guess actually, so that's the thing, production mode versus non-production mode. If I'm in debug mode, I probably just want the book floating in front of you. So again, I don't have to use my hands. I can just kind of launch the app, bring this up, and see, like, is everything working or not, you know, kind of deal. So I'll leave it for now, because otherwise the book's going to fall on the ground. Hold on 1 second. Okay. So for the most part, I can ignore this now, the table and the detector. Now let me see, I gotta go back to my scripts. And I probably have lost the, yeah, it's no longer table, it's gonna be, this is gross. I'm sure there's a smarter way to do this, but origin 3D. I probably don't even want it in this file, to be frank. And then it's what? XR camera 3D. And now if I run it, everything should still work. Only now the video is going to be anchored to my camera view. Let's get that over here, and then get this up. I can just move that up there. Whoa, it's highlighting, not what I wanted. There we go. In fact, I probably just need it like that. Cool. Permissions, and then uninstall will be the two commands I need, back and forth. See, it's telling me to switch on my controller to get things working. So if I switch to hand tracking, that should solve that problem. Thinking, cannot call method get node on a null value. Oh, that's really annoying. So, oh. So I have it in here in the OCR manager. Where am I using this again? I thought we were only using this in one place. Oh, this isn't used in... Oh, was I in the middle of moving this stuff out of main? Let me get this straight again. So I had on toggle here. Here's the old code. I'm going to game state to get the camera texture. Right. So none of this is needed anymore. Is that true? No, it is. Right. So this probably should be game state now. And then, so that's just 2. 1, 2. I'm confused though. I'm doing this in multiple places. So on detector toggled. Right. But then I also have it just doing it every single time, right? Where is OCR image called from? On ready, I call OCR image. Okay, so I am using this in 2 spots. Okay, I'm gonna have to clean this up, but that's fine. Control X, let's go to game state. Let's control it from there. And then main. I thought it was complaining about main, but it wasn't. Oh, I do have it here on main. So this is on initializing of the pass-through. So I do have camera display. We're setting the override. Okay, so I probably should just do let's do that. And let's do I was already doing game state for these. I don't like having this all in game state, but I'll figure it out. I'll probably create like another global script for debugging. I don't know. I might just find out like what do other people do for this kind of thing. I'll have to do some research. There is a couple of Godot videos I haven't watched yet on just general like architecture and how you build things correctly and structure them properly in your Godot project. Because I'm still pretty new to Godot. I mean, I've done something like 1 or 2 little experiments over the years, but I'll say I'm still very green in my mind. Camera view. Oh, where's material? Oh, material's there. So it's here. So that's worrying because now it's not, that's the one problem with using this kind of thing is it's going to tell me this is fine, but at runtime this would fail because it's not actually something on the game state because the material's right here. All right, now this should run. Here we are. Let's try to install. I never killed the app like I should have. Okay, there we are, and then let me actually queue that uninstall up. Hopefully this works, but now I got to always remember to keep my eye on the debug log, otherwise I'll be sitting with the headset on, waiting for waiting for something to pop up in the display, and it'll just be black while I'm sitting there for 5 minutes waiting for it to load until I realize it just doesn't work. Okay, this is failing. So the game state can just go right to XR origin, I think. Because now that it's in game state, it doesn't have to go up a directory. Game state is at the same level as main. Let's try that. I might have to do main. Controller out of the way. Move some things around on my desk. All right, here we are. Permissions set. Nope, failed. So this is probably main / XR origin 3D, XR camera 3D, then camera display. All right, one more try. It'd be nice if there was an easier way to debug this kind of thing. I think it's a sibling to main, so that should be true. And I really don't like running this over and over again. If it crashes this time, I don't think I will kill it. I think I'll keep it up so I can use the debugging to try to figure things out. Is there like a... Nah. In fact, I should be able to just put it down anyway. Okay, get nodes failing there. What's remote got? We have game state. I guess main would have to be below it. So let's do that. Let's run that again. This should work this time. Yeah, because it's a sibling to main, which means we got to go up and then down through main to go get it. Which is probably why it's probably not good for game state to have access to anything like that. I probably could just do like a debug thing underneath main and just have the script there, a debug script there. I don't know. I'll have to figure out what's the right path here. Yeah, I still have to pick up the headset every time and click a controller and click continue and then put the headset back down again. It's kind of annoying. But this is what I'm doing today. I'm trying to solve all these problems so that I don't have to, I can kick off a job to go test a scenario I would even like to do some automated testing at some point. But black square. Is that going to change in 15 seconds? There we go. That worked. All right, we're in business. Let's kill that. That slash shouldn't have been the thing, but okay. All right, so that worked. This is gross. This is ugly. I'll figure out a better way to do it later. But for now, having it in game state is slightly better. And then here we down in OCR Manager. So, well, what we can do now is, let's get rid of Tesseract. Let's rename that. We'll call it video. And then we'll do current OCR. And then what we can do here on main is, okay, call delayed is a cool little function. I also need a little place for like utility functions like this. Have permissions, arguably could go there too, although I shouldn't need to call it that much. So initialize pass-through camera. So we get a material, we set up our joystick, we get our camera feed. Tesseract is going to be on, okay, so game state, it's no longer Tesseract, it's video. And what, current OCR. Current OCR. Camera feed. Nah, don't want to call it camera feed, that already exists. Camera view. Let's go video feed. So dir contents I'm not really using. Logger I'm not using currently yet. Add page text, yes, but that's not really relevant. Okay, so I'm just declaring variables here. That's all I'm doing. And then just referencing them from multiple places. So it's not Tesseract. It is going to be... So for main, okay, we do need to do 2 of these. Bring those in. Yeah, there we go. And then this one is going to be the dot texture, right? Yeah. So now the video feed is just going to be turned on from the get-go. And that's all I should have to do. This toggles the feed on and off. And that's it. Now in OCR Manager, so an OCR image, camera feed. Okay, so it's game state, Tesseract, image texture. We're not going to do that anymore. We're going to do our current OCR dot texture is the image texture. And I'm sure I missed something, so that'll break, but oh, annoying. Darn it. That's fine. Let's delete that. Let's do darn. So I had to do all of those as separate ones, all the way down. So now we've got this one and we've got this one. Oh, that's annoying. Why does it have... Why didn't it inherit all the same properties? Did it not? That was okay, maybe because it was a child underneath of it, it did something weird. But in theory, I should be able to do that. And then those two together, let's just move them up slightly. Okay. Fine, let's call it image display. Was it current OCR? Image viewport. Fine. Don't love it, but it should be fine because I still go to current OCR. It just means it's going to get it from a different spot. On main, yeah, the viewport width. So I need to duplicate this again. And again, this logic, initialize pass-through feed, whatever. Like maybe it shouldn't live here. I'll figure out where it needs to live to. So we'll call it, yeah, it's gonna be image viewport. But we have our feed. The feed is just the feed. It's always the feed. We set our video feed texture. Camera texture. Maybe that's fine. I might be missing something. But yeah, what this means now is I need these duplicated. I wish it would put that on its own line. I don't know why it does that by default. So we've got, what, image display? Rather gross. And image viewport, right? Fine. And let's run that. Kind of funny how it's like seems like it's all off a bit. Like that would be, maybe it is off a little bit because of the book that I have it sitting on. So it does look like I can click here without using the controller. And maybe that's just defaulting to hand gestures, picking up hand gestures. Invalid assignment of property key size of value vector TB to null instance. So image viewport is null. Image viewport. Yep. Run that again. Small typo, hopefully. Yeah, I would like to... I probably could just do it with a signal, right? Like create a signal and then just have a debug script sitting somewhere where all this is co-located. And if we're going to be debugging, then it just listens for those signals and then does things. Invalid assignment of size to a null instance. This is different now. I think maybe I made the same mistake twice. Current OCR. Again. Take a moment, Ed. Make sure you got it right. Is there no other ones? That should be, I mean, we're playing whack-a-mole, but that should be the last of the moles to whack. Wish I could work while this was running. It'd be nice if I could do this as a background thing. That'll be another thing to look at, is probably not, because it's attaching with remote debugging, and so it needs to attach on. If I didn't want to do remote debugging, there might be a way to just run this as a separate process, and then I can keep working in the editor while this is doing its thing. Now it claims to be broken. Yep, there we go. And then when it's finished OCRing, did it finish OCRing? No, those are all the same errors as before. Wait, there we go. It did finish OCRing. Oh, but when we capture the still image, it's not. Yeah, it was OCRing. It's just not capturing what I want. Also, let's save ourselves some pain right now. And let's get this table table's a static body, but we have our table mesh and our collision. Okay, so the table. Oh, let me kill that. It's thinking about dying. There we go. Ooh, did it crash the headset? Whoa. All right. All right, so that all worked. Or did it work? I don't know. Let's do this. Transform. Oh, size. Here we go. 0.1. Let's do 0.01. I forget how to do this, where you have them like together, basically. Yeah, I don't think I did that properly. I guess the collision shape should be a child underneath the other one. That's fine. That's good enough. Okay, so now that that's pretty thin, that shouldn't really get in the way of. Here, let's go even thinner. I don't know. I don't need it to be perfect. Points. Yeah, I don't know how any of this works. Y is 0.1. Did that work? No. Yeah, so I had done it properly before. I had attached it somehow to... Hold on. Had to ban somebody. Hold on. Okay, sorry, just had to ban somebody. I don't care. This doesn't matter to me. I just need it thin enough and it needs to work. So that way the book doesn't fall for the moment. And I think I've got that. So let's save, and then what's going on here? So we've gotten our image texture, but it's not getting set properly. What do we have? We have our camera feed. So these two are the same. Those two are the same. So we have our camera display and image display. Camera display, image display. Image viewport, camera viewport. Current OCR, and then video. So we have our Tesseract. This is getting from image display. This is getting from image viewport. Oh, camera texture is not used here. So on main, we are setting that camera texture. So we're getting the feed from that. But we're setting our camera viewport size and our image viewport size. So all that's working. We're getting an image from that camera texture. We're getting an image texture from it. This should work. Okay, but now anyway, I can at least debug it using remote and see what's going on. And now the table shouldn't get in the way. I mean, it'll still probably get in the way, but at least it'll be less noticeable. Baby steps. Here we are. Yeah, see, it's not in the way as much. And there's our feed. Oh, wait, hold on. No, the feed's still there. We're just not getting the still images for some reason, even though... Also, why wasn't the feed on immediately? So let's take a look here. If we go to XR origin, camera display, So that has its feed. Image display has a texture. So we are setting it. I always find this makes it so hard to find things. Let's do this. I don't want this running all the time. And it looks like we may have just crashed it anyway. All right, let that clean itself up. This is OCR image, which is going to run on startup, right? See this. Well, this is still calling Tesseract. On ready, call delayed. Let's turn that off. I don't want this running. You know, it's possible I didn't have this working anyway. So let's go back to the on button press. Yeah. Yeah, this is save PNG. Also save PNG. Oh, yeah. Feed is active true, feed is active true with a timer. Wasn't one of these supposed to be false? Yeah, I was turning this off. This was a different experiment. So this was called from itself. It would call itself forever. And then I also had it called on ready. But I'm not going to call it anymore. I want to stick to the button. Did we crash things? Nope, we're still good. Still up and running. That's the nice thing about this uninstall. I can just kick that off and let it deal with shutting down the app. Because otherwise the app will crash and then the casting will stop working and then I got to turn that back on. I'd rather just, like, the second I know I'm not happy, just trigger an ADB command to kill it. That'll solve a lot of problems in my life. And then now we've got the new issue, which is that, where is that button? Well, I got to reach out and hit the button. So we're going to move that one next. Okay, there's our feed. The feed should be live. Is it not? Let me drag that over so I can see it. On ready, we should be initializing pass-through camera, which turns on monitoring feeds. We get our feed array. Feed is active false. And this was because I had figured out right. If I leave this feed on, after about a minute, it crashes the app. So I think I can turn it on from the get-go. Hold on. So we could call initialize pass-through feed. This shouldn't be from here. What I should do instead is we initialize the pass-through feed. Feed active true. And then when we're done, let's call a delay. So feed active true. Then in 10 seconds, we'll turn it off, wait a second, and turn it back on again. In fact, I think I can do 0.5 here. I think that should be more, half second should be more than enough time. And so then in a half second, we'll then turn the camera on, and then we schedule it so that like every 10 seconds. Shoot, let's just be more generous with this. Let's call it every 20 seconds. We'll just rotate the camera. So now the feed's going to be on immediately. And then when we press the button, I should immediately be setting an image, and then we'll OCR process. We'll get the current image. All right. Now it should work. Yeah, let me bring this back over. And then once things are stable, I shouldn't have to like deploy over and over again. I should be able to just leave it up and then just make changes in the engine and watch them happen immediately. So now it should come online. The camera feed should be active immediately. Yeah, it's active immediately, and then when I press the button now, yeah, see the feed just kind of every 20 seconds or so is going to click. So that should have triggered an OCR event, which it did, and it found nothing. All right, let me kill this. So all right, I got to figure out what I broke then. So camera texture. Is camera texture not set to anything then? Is maybe that the issue? So game state camera texture is a new camera texture. It's not used here. Where is it used on main? Well, it is the video feed dot texture. So why wouldn't I just do the video feed dot texture? Because then they get like a shared texture, and that just probably doesn't work. So dot get image. What if it's that? And that should work. I should be able to just get an image from that texture. And then game state here, this shouldn't care about this. It should be main here, where I've just initialized the camera texture as a new texture. So we have new texture there. And then we're setting the maybe I need to change this order. So we have our camera texture up here. It was a new texture. We're setting its feed ID to the game state camera feed, which should be initialized now and active. And then we're setting the video feed texture to the camera texture. So that should be that. And then over here, we're just getting the video feed, grabbing a still image, and setting that to the OCR texture. So we should be taking a still from here and setting it there. Clear these. Okay. This is really annoying to be stuck on this step. Okay, it has nothing. Okay, and then if I hit the button, still nothing. Why? Why? I mean, we have an image. Okay, well, let's set this up, shall we? Or I gotta do it over here, right? Because I need my hand to hit the button. Yeah. Or let's hit it again. Something addition. So okay, so it's working. It's doing OCR on this book. It's just not setting the texture correctly. So we are getting an image. It's getting passed through, and it's pulling stuff out of it. let's go back to basics. Current OCR, image viewport, image display, image display. Image display is a mesh instance 3D. Viewport is a sub viewport. Current OCR is a Tesseract. Which is there. I don't know what skeleton main means, but this one's working. They should have separate transform values. Yeah, same deal, just one's lower than the other. They're literally identical. Camera viewport has nothing, I mean, other than transparent background. No settings. What if I set this texture to a image texture and for it, well, I don't really have an image, but well, I do actually. Let's set it to that. So now in 3D, yeah, what if actually I hit play here? Well, it's probably gonna fail because I can't get the cameras, but maybe it'll still run anyway. Well, okay, it doesn't show anything. Let me run that. I had another thought. Oh, the other thought would be, can I just set the video to both of them? And will that work? This is really annoying. I know sometimes weird things can happen in Godot when you copy paste stuff, where like you think you're creating a separate node, but it's really like a duplicate of the first node in some weird way, I think. All right, let's try this. Weird that it doesn't have an image. So that's not working. What if I go to main here, video feed, right? Video feeds the Tesseract. Let's just do that, and if we come here, let's just nuke that. And run that. Click. Can I just confirm I'm not crazy? Because nothing else should be running to affect it. And I don't need to have the headset on for this because I'm just looking to like see that the video feed works for both. Now, so something's up here. Yeah, let's kill that. So where are all the places I'm calling this video feed? 2 spots, there and there. And that's the same thing for current OCR. Game state. Again, video feed is there. 1 spot. Sorry, main, it's 2 spots. Here's just 1 spot. I'm just getting the video feed image texture, but again, I'm not using it anywhere else. This is like the image. Can I close that? Image docs, yeah. This guy's empty, right? Yeah, there's nothing to it. This one's also empty. And again, to not be crazy, camera viewport, camera display, image viewport, image display. So here's what I'm gonna have to do then. Mesh instance 3D, and we'll call it image display. And on that, we're going to do a sub viewport. And we'll call that image viewport. And then underneath that, we're going to go with a Tesseract. And we'll call it current OCR. We'll hide this one, and we'll go grab the same settings. So, in fact, if nothing, actually, we'll even hide it, right? So for this one, we'll do a plane mesh. I'll even go there. So, what was it? 1 and 0.75. 1 and 0.75. Nothing else on that. Okay, let's hide that. And then this has a skeleton change. I don't know why that would be. Surface material override. Did this one have a surface material override? Yeah, it did. So what's with the surface material override? I don't think I needed that. Let's leave that off for now. and then let's expand this and we'll do the viewport. So (640 by 480), 640 by 480. And then we'll do transparent. Render target, update always, yeah. Was that maybe the issue? Nope, it had update always. So this one, those two look the same. We'll even scroll down. I'm just going super slow because I'm like, why is this not working? Or is it, again, this is a case of like things don't copy well. So then this one is our texture. So for this one, both empty. This one has keep width and keep aspect cover. All right, sorry, fit width. Keep aspect covered. That looks good. And this one has a layout change. Transform. This one, I'll clear that. Now they're like the same. And then if we go to 3D, the only issue now is this one is there. So for this one, what did we have? Oh, the transform is on 90 degrees. Here, I can collapse all this. $90, and then what did we have? Okay. Is there any scaling? 0.6. 0.6, tab, 0.6, tab, 0.6, tab. Okay, and then I'm going to just drag it down slightly. Now, why is one of them gray and the other one not? Again, it's got that skeleton change, right? Well, let me just run it and see what we get here. Because in theory, this should work. There's like no reason why it shouldn't work. Somehow I broke something though. I may have to go back and watch my own video on what I did. Because I had it working with video, and then I had it working with still images, and then I have it working with neither. Actually, I could just go look at the git diff, because I think I had this working. Even like this morning, it was working with still images. I think that's how it was set up. So it really just makes no sense. and no camera feed. So if I look at this, actually, yeah, so what did I do in the script here? I set them to both be the camera texture. So they both should have the same video feed. Which means if I look at remote, let's drag that a little bit. Camera display. Hold on. Sorry, video feed. Game state.video feed is the Tesseract. Right. So this should have a camera feed, camera 2, and it's active. In fact, if I bring this up here, no, still, well, it's still active. Oh, because it marked itself active again. But I should be able to change the feed ID down to 0, and that should change it to the avatar, right? Nope, change it to nothing. So if I go to 1, 2, okay, now it's active again. Interesting that that doesn't work. Okay. But if I come back over here, so that's on this camera texture that's attached to the video feed. And if I go here, it also has a camera texture with a video feed. Ah, so it's literally got the same thing. So that is working. It's getting assigned correctly. It's just not displaying. Okay, let's kill that. Fun. So this one has, what, the skeleton thing? Why does this one not have a skeleton thing? But this one also had like the skeleton thing, and it was also set to main. And it had a surface material override, which had a resource on it. And this has a surface material override, which has a resource on it. And this one didn't work either. So different color, I guess. This is blowing my mind. What am I doing differently here? I'm seriously going crazy. Hopefully this is one of those ones where if I go and take a break for 5 minutes, all of a sudden it'll all become obvious. But right now I'm just beside myself. Tesseract. getting set. Update mode always. No, well, that's just its visibility, because I turned off its visibility. I was like, oh, I figured it out. No. How? How? I mean, we're finding the node because we are setting the feed to the texture rect. It's just not displaying it for whatever reason. I don't get it. Camera display gets a material. Oh. Seriously? Is that seriously going to be it? I am going to be livid with myself. This is like the equivalent of having the parking brake on. So we do have an image display, right? What was that, like a half hour wasted? I feel real dumb if that ends up being it. Although it is quite common for it to be something simple, right? We all have our moments of feeling dumb every once in a while. I'm confident this will work. Man, that was, gosh. That really was like over a half hour wasted. It's so frustrating. Again, yeah, definitely would have been one where if I stepped away for 5 minutes, I probably would have seen it immediately. But you go back to basic first steps, and then everything works. Come on, you're gonna work now. Yep, there we are. Now, if here, let me just kill this. And then what I'll do is, I'll make this 3. I'll make that image display, and I'm gonna run it again. Actually, this time I will turn that off. And then in here, yeah, we're getting our image display. So everything's set up. So it did need a, what was it? Yeah, it needed a material, and it just didn't have a material. So that was the issue. So here, when I hit it, it should set the image. So this should be the final test of this. And then I can move on to something new. Come on, finish up. There we go, permissions and controller and click and set up the book there. Okay, and then why is it still the 2? It's not supposed to do that. I turned this off. The material is what? Standard material. Camera viewport. What is, well, anyway, that word. So I should be able to just, well, let me just, oh, shoot. I was still showing that. Okay, let's try this again. So annoying. Okay. I feel like I'm tripping on myself today. I'll blame the coffee. I don't know. Come on. Finish up. All right, there we are. Now, it's still the 2 video feeds for some reason. It's not supposed to be the case. All right. So maybe it is that material. Either way. Yeah. This one can get deleted. Yep, delete it. And then in our script, so what is this? Camera viewport. Camera viewport is that viewport, which has a texture. Shouldn't matter. Because camera viewport, all we did was like we set its size. Like they're both the same thing. But fine, you know what? I'll play along. fact, I'll make 2 materials. Why not? There. So now like current OCR just was getting the width and height of its port, and it's not getting the video feed. Like, it shouldn't be a video feed at all. Unless maybe it's like getting, see, it's got like no texture. Like, its texture was previously the video feed. But in the OCR manager, what do we do on startup? Call delayed, OCR image. Wait, were we still calling this? Maybe that's the problem. No, that's, yeah, we're not calling this. This is, let's confirm. Yes, it's 3 spots. Yeah, on ready, we're not calling that anymore. So we don't even call that. On toggle, well, this is old logic that I'm not using anymore. We get an image from the video feed. We create an image texture from it. And then we set that texture to current OCR. So now I have the opposite problem. Before I couldn't get anything on it. Now I got the problem where it's literally constantly video feeding when it's not supposed to be. Fine. Maybe it's an issue of like the material being shared between 2 things, and maybe I shouldn't be doing that. Let's assume that's the case. And you know, maybe it is, if that's true, maybe it is setting the image to it. But then literally a frame later, that image gets overridden by the video feed. I could believe that. And that's all happening at the material level, because the material then gets shared between the 2. Okay. Hopefully now I don't see... I see video on one, but not on the other. That would also maybe explain the double video. No. All right. Let me take a break for a second. Think. It's literally got the same exact problem. Surface material override. So we've got the feed. We're doing some things with the feed. Camera feed. So the feed is the feed. And we have the 2 viewports, which are 2 separate things. Camera display and image display. They have 2 separate viewports underneath of them. This is going off camera display. This goes off camera viewport. Image display, image viewport. Let me just try to break it. So I'm on image display here. Let's undo that skeleton. And let's undo that surface material override. In theory, neither of those is needed. And then transform. I can keep all that. So those are the only changes there. And then on this mesh has a resource. Was it plain mesh YAE? What about this one? YAE. Interesting. So what if I go to here and I give it a new plain mesh? And now I probably broke stuff, right? Yeah. So this plain mesh needs to have 1 and 0.75. That's it, right? I mean, it's got other changes to it, but this one has it. Oh, the resource path, right? Which it doesn't have one. Okay, this will be a fun experiment. Hopefully in the process of this, I just learned something about Godot, about the rules of how Godot operates. I mean, at this point, I tried so many things over the weeks that I don't even know how I set that thing up. So I may have set it up incorrectly. Maybe I should be removing that. I don't know. There is one thing I think I have to I can check next. I think I may have done another stupid thing, but let me take a minute. Again, I shouldn't see feeds on both. That's like the main thing. And I think I will. Yeah, I'm still going to see feeds on both. Let me check something real quick. Something obvious, something stupid again. Hey, look, it's camera viewport. I am not learning my lesson, and I am really must be in another place this morning. Off my game. Okay. Time is at 12. Second I get this working, which I think will be very soon in the next few minutes, I'll take a step back, reflect for a moment, and then maybe I just need to go eat lunch, and then with a clear mind work some more this afternoon. But let's not worry about that just yet. Permissions and continue. Please not show image. Yay, it's black. Okay, this is what I want. Yes, a still image. Yay, okay. Which means I should be able to do. And then I should see crossing shoot. Yeah, the OCR is pretty bad right now. But yay, okay, that worked. All right, let's kill this. Take a step back and reflect for a second. So debug info anchored to user view, that got working. Display live feed and image capture at the same time. You know what? Here, I didn't move it to in progress, but let's do that and move it over. Trigger button without headset on would be the next thing I'm supposed to do. I can do that at the same time as I can do something else here. So I feel like I want to plow through. So good, that's that. This, the button. Oh yeah, other experiments I want to do. Oh, it got its resource set, so I cleared that out, didn't I? Yeah. Did I clear out its skeleton? It doesn't have a skeleton. So this probably doesn't need a skeleton either. Or probably because I moved it. Yeah, it shouldn't need either of those. Let's close those up. And now the next thing I'm going to do is the detector. I'm going to move that underneath the camera as well. And then I'm going to move it over here. And let's run that. I don't know what position it's going to be in. But hopefully that's just a quick fine tuning. So hopefully the button should hopefully be like right up in my face. Okay. Who knows? Maybe it'll be like literally in my face. Oh, yeah, see. And that's you can't reach it. There we go. Barely reached it. Okay. So let's put that there. And then what I can do is oh. Yeah, perfect live updating. So now it's like literally right in front of me. So I can just hit it. Okay. And then what I want to do is change its shape. So actually I do want to move it up a bit. And then rotation. What is this? This is an area. The detector is its own scene, right? So let's go into that scene. Yeah, I gotta learn how to use like scenes better too. So yeah, how do you work these together? Because if I so these are points. If I change this and I go with like 1, that works, but now like the collision didn't. So what if I do them together? That's moving their position. Yeah, that doesn't work. I don't know how to do that. Okay, fine. I'll just do it the hacky way. And I'm sure at some point I'll learn how to do this properly when I watch a video or something. Let's do 1 by 1. Okay. And then this one. What if I revert that? Now it's of 0. See, this isn't how it's supposed to go. So I can just do it like that. I guess that works. Fine. Let's close that and come back here. Okay. And then let's launch it again. And the next thing would be like, let's switch to hand tracking and get rid of the table and just like snap the book to your hand. Or I could just do snap the book to the hand and delete the table anyway. Or I could be lazy and just put the book underneath the camera as well. Right. I didn't queue this up. So now, let's see how this looks. Okay, now I've got like a ceiling above my head. I can probably move that out of sight a bit more. But it also means I should be able to do this. There we go. So I can just trigger it. I can leave the headset sitting still and trigger it. Can I make this thing like transparent or something? Gravity. I don't know what any of this is. Collision, sure. Input. Visibility. I guess that's true. I probably need to do it in the scene. Oh, okay, that's me turning it off. Actually, yeah, that's a good question. Does this now trigger it if I go? That does. Okay, I don't need it to be visible. Why is it darker over. Why does it keep triggering? Oh, because it's colliding with the desk, probably. All right, let me do that. Book and table. Let's drag you two down. Yeah, okay, so that button was colliding with something. It's getting too close to my head. Why is that dark behind me? But when it's in front of me, it's just because the room's darker? All right, that's fine. The point is it works. And I can set that there, and then I can put a book in front of it. Or, you know, whatever I can do. I can set it up with my hand, and then I can crossing the doesn't seem to like chasm. It seems to struggle with that. But it's a book cover, that's fine. And the OCR is kind of broken at the moment, which is known. Okay, so that works. Let me kill this then. And let's see here. Trigger button without headset on. Done. So the next thing would be, so I do want to download these metrics, but there is one more I can do is snap book to hand. Let's see if I can do that. Because if I can snap it to the hand, then, well, there's also the lazy way of doing it, right? So for me, it's the right hand. What if I just drag the book to there? Does that all of a sudden just work? Let's try that. In which case, can I then just get rid of the table? Come on. All right. This might be the last thing I do, and then I'll figure out a way to just commit this code and call it done for the moment and move on to the next task. Which might be hand tracking because I'm really getting tired of pulling the trigger on this controller every time. So that didn't work. I lost it. Got pushed to the table. Oh, and the headset's about to die. So all the more reason for me to maybe just call it a day here. Yeah, all right, let me do that. So snapping book to hand is the next thing, and then I'll get start trying to like download test stuff to finish off the test thing, and then I can just then stop putting the headset on. And well, I don't want to snap book to hand. No, I want to snap to the headset, just like the other things. At least just for now. It is the test book after all. I'll probably make a better book later, maybe. Yeah, anyway. And then I'll get test data coming down and then kind of go from there. Yeah. All right, anyway. Thanks for whoever hung out, and I will talk to you later.